Good to see so many people. I'm Søren, and I've been fortunate enough to be allowed to come here and show you some of the new stuff we're doing for uCommerce too. And we only have 30 minutes to get through it, and I'm going to be digging around in Visual Studio, so better get going, right? So arm yourself with patience. So what I'm going to talk about is sort of the 4 pillars that uCommerce 3 stands on. We're going to start with the first one. How many here actually have tried uCommerce? Worked with it? 10%? How many knows about it? Okay, so how many here have sort of had the impression that uCommerce is difficult to get started with? Has quite a high learning curve? Anybody? Yes? We spent some time this fall talking with partners, and one of the things that they told us was exactly that uCommerce is kind of difficult to get started with. It's awesome once you know it, but you do have to get over that bump there, that speed bump. So one of the themes that we've been working with is actually simplifying uCommerce to make it sort of flatten out the learning curve a little bit and make it easier to work with. One of the ways we did it is by introducing a new API for uCommerce. So Razor Optimized API. Actually, Razor Optimized is it's .NET really. So what we wanted to do is create an API that sort of supports core scenarios in e-commerce. So the idea there is that while most e-commerce solutions look different, they do have sort of a shared feature set that you need to build every time. You need to do catalog browse, right? And let the customers click around your catalogs in your different stores, in your different product listings. You always need to do basket management. And you always need to sort of add marketing capabilities, unit discounts, bundle discounts, kit discounts, all that sort of stuff, promo codes, stuff like that, right? What we did is we created sort of an API that supports the 80% of what you need. The idea is that we give you a very simple API that doesn't do everything, but it's very optimized for doing these 80% core scenarios. One of the things that we sort of did to try and make it easier to work with is make it discoverable. How many of you build their sites in Visual Studio? Almost everybody. One of the ways to make things really discoverable in Visual Studio is IntelliSense, right? It's an awesome way to work with it, right? Just go ... and see what's there, right? So what we came up with is actually inspired from our XSLT API that we've had for years now. And we sort of took the same model, created a bunch of classes, very high-level APIs. That you can just go transaction library ... and then you get all the functionality that you actually need to create. In this case, basket management, customer management, that sort of stuff. And we've got one for each of our subsystems. So you just need to know that you want to work with transactions, and then go add a library to the end of it, right? And then you've got your full API. Same thing for marketing, same thing for catalog. Just go marketing library ... add discount, whatever, right? Same thing for catalogs. I want to load up my store, I want to load up my catalogs. Right? You probably guessed what that would look like. So discoverability is a huge deal here. What we also wanted to do was to make the APIs themselves very simple to work with. Once you know which one you want to call, we actually want to make them accept as little parameters as possible, right? So if you want to add something to basket, it's fairly simple, right? How many do I want to add to basket? And what's the SKU that I want to add? That's it. No loading up products to add to the method. You just need to know that item number, that's it. As you can see below from the IntelliSense that I sort of handily copy-pasted in, it does a lot more. We're using a lot of the .NET 4 capabilities with default parameter values, stuff like that, to give you sort of very short method signatures if you only need the simple stuff. If you do want to override some of this stuff, go ahead and add that variant SKU if that's the type of item numbers you're working with. You can go ahead and select whether you want to add to an existing order line, so on and so forth. And this is true for all of the APIs. So this should make it really, really straightforward to work with. Does this look simpler than working with a bunch of different objects? Yes? So the Razor API is basically this, right? We want to support the core scenarios that you always need to implement in every single web store that you do. We want to make it simple, we want to make it discoverable, and the 2 last ones I haven't actually talked about yet. What do we know about a web store? Where do we always operate our web stores? You can almost hear it in the name, right? On the web, right? So what we have sitting underneath these APIs is actually an e-commerce API that's not sort of specific to web. You can use it in all different kinds of contexts. You use it in web services, you can use it in console applications, you can use it for whatever you want, right? But for the Razor APIs, we know that they're always going to be used in a web context. So what we did is we made them web optimized, and an example of that is that we're not actually forcing you to load up these objects, so you don't have to go and get that product object to be able to add it to a basket, just add it with that SKU. We made them custom context aware, and actually an example of that is this, the add to basket deal here. There, right? You don't actually specify which basket you want to add it. uCommerce figures out which basket you're operating on. Of course, if you're using multiple baskets for the same user, you need to handle that. But most of the times you're actually just using a single basket and then maybe some auxiliary baskets for wish lists or something like that. So it just sort of figures it out so you don't have to specify a lot of stuff. Good. Sitting underneath that, we've got the runtime that we've always had, and that's the thing that if you work with uCommerce up until now using .NET, you've been sort of messing around with a lot of objects that you had to click together to actually solve the problem. One of the issues with that runtime is that you had to do a lot of configuration to actually make it run in different contexts, and you had to do a lot of configuration to actually make that work. So we cut down on that, so you no longer have to actually go ahead and specify different configurations when you run in different contexts. It just works. So that's what we call the adaptive runtime. It's just sort of a fancy name of saying we try and figure this stuff out for you guys, so you don't have to. Because it is something when we're operating a support forum, it's kind of easy to see where sort of the problem lies, right? And this was definitely one of them. So now, less configuration. How many have tried doing component overrides in uCommerce, replacing some of the functionality, maybe the price calculations, tax calculations, you're rewriting all that sort of stuff. Everything in uCommerce is pluggable, as it always has been. But the issue is that when you upgrade uCommerce, what we do is we actually reset the configuration files to match the new configuration if they were updated between versions, right? So that meant if you overrode a component in the configuration, uCommerce would actually just throw that away and you had to re-add it yourself, which is not really a great experience, right? You install the package, migrate your install to the newest version, and resets everything. Awesome, right? We didn't think so. So what we did is we added persistent component overrides. So basically, we just give you guys a place to stick those overrides in. So when you do your custom services for uCommerce, when you plug in or replace our stuff, just add it to that place and it just start, right? And yeah, that's runtime. uCommerce just figures out where it's running and does the appropriate thing, right? Any questions so far? This is just the API. It gets better from here. So next thing is one of the requests we've had for a while now is the ability to run uCommerce in the cloud. We get a lot of big stores, and they have to scale their hosting environments for the peaks, right? So if they're running TV ads, something like that, their sites sort of spike a lot. They have to have servers that can handle the spike, but 99% of the time they don't really need that sort of capability. That's where the cloud comes in. So what we did is we support Windows Azure now, so you can run uCommerce in the cloud along with Umbraco. So you can sort of scale your site as you go. And the cool thing about Azure here is that it's really, really simple to work with. Microsoft introduced recently something they call Windows Azure Websites. Are you familiar with that? Yes, a couple of nods. What's cool about it, if you compare that with the old version of Azure, when you sort of logged into the Azure control panel, it was sort of like being put into a 747 and being asked to sort of twist all the knobs and make it go, right? And we all know that getting into the air is not the problem, right? Getting down again is. And that was sort of the experience when you were sitting in that control panel. You had no idea what was going on. I didn't, at least. But with the latest version of Azure, what they did is they really, really simplified this stuff. So they brought it down to just 5 menu items. And you can add your own websites, you can add your own databases as you want. But the cool thing is that interface for it is something that we all know and love. So it's FTP, it's Skid publishing, it's TFS publishing, and it's SQL Server Management Studio. So the awesome thing for me, at least, is I don't have to learn sort of a new way to operate with this stuff. I can just sort of use my tools as I would, regardless of the fact that it's running in the cloud. So it's a big thing. All right, let's see here. Just to summarize the implementation of that. Scale as you go. it's easy to work with, and it doesn't break the bank, most importantly. All right, so the third thing that we sort of have been working on was actually connected to Umbraco 5 and Umbraco 4. We did a lot of work. Many of you were probably at Code Garden this year, where you saw my little crustacean, my hermit crab maybe. I'm not going to talk too much about that guy, Herbert, but the idea there was that we sort of view Umbraco as a shell that uCommerce runs in, and we had to sort of make a lot of tweaks to our interfaces with Umbraco so we can sort of run in both Umbraco 4 and 5. Now 5 is not a problem anymore, but what it did is it actually enabled a lot of the stuff that we're going to look at now. PIM 2.0, Product Info Management 2.0. PIM is sort of at the heart of everything we do in uCommerce. It's our catalog system, it's what enables our multi-store scenarios, our marketing system with fluid interfaces. It's sort of our versions of document types. And you might ask, why do that? Umbraco has an awesome document type, right? System, it works well, got a bunch of data types, but the reason we did it is we want to support massive scale in our solution. So we wanted to support hundreds of thousands of products. We wanted to support millions. So we had to do it from scratch to actually be able to scale the catalog systems to a very high scale. And that's what we did, but it did have sort of the side effect that we were sort of cut off from the Umbraco world. When you create a new product in uCommerce, you couldn't really add a nice document to it or whatever. You could only add the stuff that we thought of in advance. So we figured, why not do something about it and add a bunch of new data types to the new updated PIM 2.0. That's what we did. I'm going to show you a couple. Silent creative demo graphs. All right. So this is uCommerce 3. What is going on? So this is the other side of uCommerce 3. Can you see it? Good. So let me start out with an oldie but a goodie. Images, right? So in the good old days, this is what the default Umbraco image would look like. It doesn't really give us a lot of information. Niels talked about it in regards with document type or content nodes. But this is actually what the default picture looks like, right? This is the default pop-up. Again, kind of difficult to figure out what we're actually picking here. Right? What's what? Nobody knows. Now, multiply this up to a catalog that has maybe 200,000 SKUs in it. It becomes kind of difficult if each product has maybe 10 images assigned, right? Which one to pick? So what we did is we sort of improved on the integration with Umbraco here to actually go ahead and reflect the settings that you selected in Umbraco. So what happens here is uCommerce picks up this this new configuration image picker. Let's go back to our store and see what happened. So right off the bat, you should notice this should be familiar to you guys, right? Because it works exactly like it does in Umbraco. So we've got a nice preview now. We had that in the past where we had to do it ourselves, and you couldn't turn it off, so it was sort of what we decided it was. But now it reflects the Umbraco configuration. But the pop-up does as well, right? So now we've got the full sort of image management capability here. Selecting with a preview and creating new images as you go, right? Which makes the workflow around product management much simpler. So this was sort of the first step. Now the other issue we had is we sort of figured content and products are sort of two different worlds. You don't really want to tie them together. But it does turn out that sometimes you actually want to do it anyway. By adding product manuals, size guides, whatever, and you had to sort of come up with a custom model to tie those two worlds together. So we added a new data type to uCommerce. You can probably figure out what we called it. Let's add a new field here to our shirt. Size guide, and select that content type, right? So let's find our product again, and let's go that type. Right, size guide, and now you can go ahead and add your content to your products. So nice tie in between those two worlds, so they're not quite so isolated as they have been so far. One of the requests we got with this stuff is actually, or rather, what's powering this stuff is sort of the way that we think about features when we build them. We use an approach we call framework first. The idea being that we build the framework and then we start to fill it out with new features, right? We didn't actually use that approach on the first run on our data type system. So it was actually just everything was hard-coded, you couldn't actually change it. But what we did is we actually went back and reworked the entire thing, so you can now go ahead and do custom data types. So the two data types that I just showed you are actually examples of implementations of custom data types exactly the way that you guys would make them. But what this also means is that you can go ahead and create your own data types if you want something to work with uCommerce. So if you need maybe something to categorize products in a different way or whatever, you just go ahead and build your own data type and extend it so you can get sort of the workflow in your catalogs and the marketing systems that you want. And let's take a look at this. And now, even more demo apps. This is the Visual Studio part, so it is bound to fail. Let's see. Still can't see it. Can you see the right side and left side? Yes. Bottom. That was bigger. So, oops. Let's grab the right one. All right. So Visual Studio with a little class in it. So what we wanted to do is this simplify sort of thing that we've been working on. It's something we're trying to do with everything. So rather than designing stuff from the inside out, we're actually designing our frameworks and APIs from the outside in. So we try and work with them before we actually sort of set them in stone, right? So this is just an empty class, and let me just show you what it takes to create a new data type. We call these guys control factories because that's what they are, right? And the interface here is all you need to implement it. So you just need to add this little interface. You need to do a support method. The idea is that it's being fed with the actual data type that it's trying to render, that the subsystem is trying to render. And then you can just go ahead and reply back with a yes or no whether you can render this particular data type. So in this case here, let's just go ahead and return data type. Data type definition name equals custom. So if the data type has a definition of custom, this is the provider that's going to use. So with that in place, let's go ahead and add that. Add a new control for it, right? New text box, ID. So I'm grabbing a bunch of information from a property get definition field, right? That's the thing that actually describes what the field looks like, and just grab the name of it. And let's just whoops. Right. So very simple. I'm not actually pulling. I usually would pull information out of the property, but this just to show you what it looks like, right? Good. So with that in place, I've got a new data type. So how many have tried to create a new data type in Umbraco? A couple of people. Does this look easier or harder than Umbraco? Easier? A little easier, right? Good. That's the idea. To make it just very, very simple. And let's see what that looks like. Oops. All right, so what we want to do is we want to create a new field here. Let's just call it custom. Select our new, which is not there yet because I haven't created data type for it. Of course. Create that. When you implement this interface, it will show up here in the list, right? So this is the definition field that I just used. So just took it up. This looks almost like Umbraco. We can go ahead and create a new field based on that data type. So let's just call it custom one more time. Select that in the list, custom. And this is on our shirt definition, so let's find one of those guys. Displayed, and there it is. Right? I was able to do it in 2 minutes. So you can actually add some really interesting UIs quite rapidly. This stuff supports injection via CSS injection and JavaScript injection, script block injection, so you can use all the nice, thank you, so you can use all the nice jQuery plugins to create your data types. All right. So we were thinking, what can we do to actually make this even better? So I got to talking with this guy at CodeGuard this year, right? Mr. Data Types. pretty much. And sort of, okay, so I asked him, what could we do to actually prove this thing even better than what we're doing right now? And I sort of asked him to describe the data type framework to me, sort of what are sort of the guidelines for building stuff. Is there actually a formalized model that we maybe be able to leverage? And it turns out that we actually could do a lot more than I've shown you so far. So let me show you what we did. So to prove this concept here, we did something else. So what we did is this provider stuff is actually something that you can take a lot further here. So let's create a new one. And as you can see here, you probably saw it before. We actually have a bunch of new data types in here. These are data types that are configured in Umbraco that we suck out and bring into uCommerce. So now we could actually go ahead and grab that multi-node picker, create that. This is the new data type, like the custom one we just did, and add a new multi-node picker to this guy here. Like that. Let's find our, oops, let's find our product again. There it is. So now you can go ahead and use them. Not just the ones that we figured was a good idea, but every time you add a new data type to Umbraco, uCommerce will pick it up, create that bridge for you guys, so you can start sucking in all the Umbraco data types, or at least the ones that are compatible. Some data types are written to be completely isolated from the context that they're running in, but others do require a content node to work. So you're sort of not sticking to the contract that Umbraco says for. And those guys we can't work with, because what happens here is we're just using the UI piece of it, which is really what we want. We're still storing this in our product information management system. So this means that you get the Umbraco data types, but with the massive scale of the uCommerce product information management. All right. So I was sitting at home one night, and as you do when you enter crunch mode on a project, right, late in the evening, and I was playing around with this stuff. It was specifically it was the image picker thing that was starting to pick up the settings from the product, and I sort of came to a realization that this is actually pretty cool. It does enable some really awesome scenarios in our product information management system. So this was sort of the feeling I had. So kind of nice. All right. So the last leg of this is productivity. We really want you guys to be even faster at creating e-commerce stores with uCommerce. We want you to get there faster, because really that's in both your interest and in our interest, right? You want to deliver these projects to your clients much more rapidly, and you want to be able to deliver more value to your customers, right? Get to the fun stuff quicker. And sort of the way that we envisioned that back in 2009 when we first released uCommerce was this, right? Have you guys seen this? Yeah. Beautiful, right? You really see sort of the design that's gone into this stuff, the responsiveness of it. We really put a lot of effort into this. All right. Actually, this is something that Lasse, my partner, created in 16 hours or something like that. That's it. And that's what we've had for a Star Store all these years, and it's really quite embarrassing. So we figured, maybe we can do something else, maybe we can do something better. So we came up with this instead. We made up a fake brand we call Avenue Clothing. And the idea is to not only, the idea with the first store was just to show sort of how the APIs work. We didn't have any validation, we didn't have anything. It just sort of showed a very basic e-commerce flow. What this does is it not only has the full flow, but it has the full validation, it has everything. But we wanted to do a bit more with it. So we wanted to sort of use this guy to highlight best practices with uCommerce and e-commerce in general. So it sort of embodies the way that we feel e-commerce should be done. And well, not the way we should think, because we have a problem in uCommerce. We're sort of not talking with clients anymore. You guys are, right? So what we did is we built sort of the base version of it to test out our APIs, sort of designing our APIs from the outside in, as I was talking about before. And then we outsourced the rest of it to the site doctor, Tim Lund. Many of you may know him. They do a lot of awesome work on uCommerce and on e-commerce in general. So that's where the best practices on e-commerce are coming from. Not from us, but from a person who's actually out there in the trenches creating beautiful sites. It's razor-based. The reason for that is we did a poll, or I did a poll on Twitter, very scientific. It's the simple question, right? XSLT or Razor. I got 150 replies on that, and 73% said we're either using Razor today or we're moving towards Razor. So it is actually something that a lot of people are working with. Now that being said, all the XSLT stuff is still in uCommerce. They still work the same as they did before. Actually, the Razor API and the XSLT APIs are the same. It's using the same engine underneath. So whenever we add an API to one, it's also available in the other. So you still have your choice of either .NET, XSLT, or Razor. The Razor API works equally well in pure .NET. What we did as well is we realized that JavaScript is maybe something here that's here to stay. So the Razor store also includes a client-side API that you guys can use to create more dynamic stores. We saw a lot of partners actually creating this on their own, and really we want you guys to create the fun stuff, not the boring stuff. And this is not the boring stuff. Using it is the fun stuff, right? So you got that, and of course backing that, we've got a full service layer as well, so you can start using the uCommerce APIs from the client. We based this stuff on ServiceStack, which is a nice open source web framework. What it does is it enables us to provide you guys with JSON output as you would want for the JavaScript APIs, but you can also go ahead and select different outputs. So maybe if you're working with integration scenarios or something like that, you probably want XML or CSV or something like that. And that comes out of the box with ServiceStack, really fast to work with. And we thought, can we do more with this? So we're go ahead. Instead of us just keeping this thing to ourselves and giving you the package, we're actually open sourcing this guy. So the entire thing is available on Bitbucket today. You can go ahead and import it there. You can go ahead and submit patches back that we already have a bunch of followers on it. And really, yeah, just grab the code. It is also pre-built, so if you want the experience of just installing a package, you can do that as well. But if you want to contribute back, or if you feel that you maybe need to do some stuff that's not there, that would be awesome for our team. It's not really cute to have, then by all means contribute back. Just send us a pull request. Now, we've been fortunate to be able to work with a bunch of clients during the sort of the development of uCommerce 3. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that you actually get that productivity that we're talking about with this Razor store. So I'm kind of pleased to announce one of our very awesome customers that actually took this Razor store, built the new store using very early build, not even the final bits. Carlsberg were able to do this stuff in 3 weeks. It's a multilingual store, it's a multi-currency store, and as you can see there at the bottom, it's a multi-brand store as well. So really a huge improvement in productivity. So just to sum it up real quick, simplified by introducing a new API. 4 scenarios, 80% of the stuff that you want to do is being used to do. You can still override if you want to. Support the cloud, so you can scale there. We've got PIM 2.0 that ties us even closer with Umbraco, so you can start using the Umbraco data types inside uCommerce, but still have that scale of the catalog systems that we want. Millions of products if you need it. And it's rock solid. We work with these 3 partners. Carlsberg, you probably know. Energy is one of the biggest energy companies in Denmark. They've created sort of an internal sales tool on uCommerce 3 that uses the PIM capabilities to create a multi-level product configurator for selling AAA products, telephony, internet, TV. So sort of an internal tool that helps them create the right combinations of products. And Forsound, which is one of Scandinavia's biggest suppliers of musical instruments. They've loaded up, they're actually using PIM 2.0 to load up uCommerce with around 500,000 SKUs, and they're using that tight integration with Umbraco to enrich their product catalog with a lot of interesting stuff and make work easier. And what they actually did is they're using a version of this that we hadn't thought of, because you don't have to use our APIs to extend uCommerce with new data types. You can actually just build a data type from Umbraco, because uCommerce will suck that in for you guys automatically. So and that's actually what they did. So they had the benefit of having the new data types available both in Umbraco and in uCommerce. And the final thing is just want to say thank you to the guys that are actually using uCommerce today, because you're actually the ones that make this possible, right? We couldn't do this if you weren't actually supporting us by using our products, the free version, pro version, or the big one. So really, thank you for making this happen for us. actually. So if you've got any questions, we can maybe grab a couple here, or I'll be outside. So any questions right now? Yes?
Is it possible to upgrade from a 2-point-something version to 3?
Yes, uCommerce will figure it out for you. Last one. Going once, twice, 3 times. Ask it outside. Thank you guys.